All right, this is your first and second lesson in the statistics unit, and your learning objective is we will understand dot plots and histograms. And we have one standard, S.1, summarize, represent, and interpret data on a single count. So we're talking about dot plots and histograms. When we're talking about each of these, we're just talking about graphs that represent frequency. So how often some number actually occurs. And we're also going to talk about mean, which is the average of the data set, and the median, which is the value directly in the middle of the data set. So the mean, I'm going to insert an equation just so you understand. The mean is represented by the symbol X with a bar above it. So make sure that you copy that down in your notes and you understand what that symbol means, because I'll be using that for the rest of the year. All right, so when we're dealing with dot plots, and histograms, we have three different distribution types. A distribution type means how the data is actually distributed. If our dot plot looks like this, that means that our distribution type is symmetrical, because symmetry means that if we were to cut a line down the middle of this thing, that one side looks exactly like the other side. And when we're talking about distributions, you want to make sure that if you're identifying it as symmetrical, then most of your data is contained within the middle. Now, if we look at this middle diagram, notice how most of the data is on the right side. And then as we move, if we look to the left and we look at the smaller values, 4, 3, 2, and 1, they start to decrease. The frequency decreases. So the amount of times that 4 occurs is greater than the amount of times that 2 occurs. That's what each of these dots represents. How many times 2 occurs within a particular data set. We're going to get more into that as we go into the lesson. So we call this left skewed or skewed left, because most of the data is on the right side, and then it decreases as we go to the left. On the other side of that, notice how the one on this distribution type on the right, we have most of the data that's on the left, and then it starts to decrease as we go to the right. So we call this skewed right. Okay, anytime you have a symmetrical distribution, then the mean and the median are going to be roughly the same, because both of those values are going to be directly in the middle, right? If we have a skewed left distribution, then these values on the left side, these lower values of 1, 2, 3, they're going to pull our average down. So that means that our average is going to be less than our median, because the median is the number that occurs directly in the middle. And on the opposite of that, if we have a right skewed data set, then these values of 5, 6, and 7, they're going to bring our average up. So our average, or our mean, is going to be greater than our median, right? So anytime they're asking you to identify one particular number that will represent your data distribution, they're asking you to say, if you're to pull one person within that data set and just come up with a number that could represent that entire data distribution, then you're going to choose the median if your distribution is skewed. If your distribution is symmetrical, you can use either the mean or the median. Okay, so that covers all of this information in these two paragraphs. So let's move on to this example. It says, students from River City High School are randomly selected and asked, how many pets do you currently own? The results are recorded below. First task is to make a dot plot of the data set. So again, a dot plot just represents how often that number occurs. So if we look at our data set, we have 4 zeros. So that means we have 4 dots above 0. We have 10 ones. So that means we have 10 dots above 1. We have 4 twos. So 4 dots above 2. 3 occurs twice, so we have 2 dots above 3. 4 occurs once, so we have 1 dot above 4. 5 occurs twice, so we have 2 dots above 5. 6 occurs twice, so we have 2 dots above 6. 7 occurs once, so 1 dot. 8 occurs once, so 1 dot. 9 occurs once, so 1 dot. 10 occurs once, so 1 dot. And 12 occurs once, so 1 dot. So that's how you create a dot plot. Again, the x-axis just measures whatever variable it is that we're measuring. In this case, it's number of pets. Okay. Second question, describe the distribution of the number of pets owned by students at River City High School. So now we're going to look at our distribution types, which are up here. And we're going to determine which one it looks like. So most of the data is on the left-hand side, and it starts to decrease as we move to the right. So this, let me change the font color for you, is skewed right, because most of the data is on the left and decreases as we move right. Okay, calculate the mean number of pets owned by the 30 students from River City High School. So to calculate the mean, I'm going to insert an equation. So again, the mean is represented by x with a line above it equals, insert a fraction because that's what we're doing. So we're going to add up all of these frequencies. So 0 occurs 4 times, so 4 times 0, plus 1 occurs 10 times, so 10 times 1, plus 2 occurs 4 times, so 4 times 2, plus 3 occurs once or twice, so 2 times 3, and then 4 occurs once, so 4 times 1, 5 occurs twice, 6 occurs twice, so 2 times 5, plus 2 times 6, 7 occurs once, 8 occurs once, so 1 times 7, or just 7, plus 8, plus 9, plus 10, plus 12. All divided by the total number of dots, and we have 30 dots. All right, so then this equals 96. 96 divided by 30, which then equals 3.2. So our mean is going to be 3.2. All right, so our median now, because that's what it's asking us to calculate, all we're going to do is we're going to cross off one at a time. So if we look at this data set, so 0, 12, because we're going for the median, we're trying to identify the value in the middle, right? So 0, 10, well, the 2 in the middle, if we were just to look at this data table, going to be this 2 and this 2. Since we have 2 different values in the middle, the median is going to be, again, since we have 2 values in the middle, we have to add them. So 2 plus 2 divided by 2. So this is 4 divided by 2, which equals 2. So our median is going to be 2. He says, what do you think is the typical number of pets for students from River City High School? Well, since this data distribution is skewed, then a typical number is going to be represented by the median. So this is a skewed distribution. Which means that a typical number of pets will be represented by the median. So in this case, 2 pets per person. All right, example 2. 25 people are attending an event. The ages of the people are indicated below. Create a histogram of the ages using the provided axes. So histogram is just a bar chart that represents the frequency. So we have 6 people that fall between 0 and 5. We have 14 people that fall between 5 and 10. 0 people that fall between 10 and 15. 2 people that fall between 15 and 20. 2 people that fall between 20 and 25. And 1 person that's 25 to 30.